Hey everybody, if this doesn't work, it's not meant for me to present this topic today. This is my take 3. So, all right, let's talk about food. Over the weekend, I shared a post that was about golden retrievers who had gone to the veterinarian and were diagnosed with issues that are the early stages of dilated cardiomyopathy, right? So that post, I missed clarifying a key piece of what was said further down in the post. That veterinarian commented that grain-based diets were not contributing factors. And he actually named things like IAMS, Purina, Science Diet, and others. And it almost sounded when I shared that I was supporting those brands. I am not, will not going to, and so on. One of my clients asked me if I had changed my position since she had been a dog training client a few years ago. Because at the time, I would pretty easily recommend a few dog food brands, right? I switched to be a raw-based feeder a few years ago and have encouraged lots of people to do so, but lots of people aren't ready to make that change, and some people just are not in a budgetary position to do so based on the volume of dogs they have, personal matters, and so on. Although I will tell you, for me and mine, feeding a raw diet became much more affordable than I thought it was going to be, and only slightly more expensive than feeding a high-priced kibble with the necessary supplements added on. Okay, so we've got to take a step back and not just look at the cost of the bag and look at all the costs associated. So those of you who want to see my calculation on feeding the Volhard diet, just search below on cost analysis and you should be able to find it. Now, let's go to this taurine topic. The article headlines are all saying grain-free diets may be a contributing factor to increased risk of dilated cardiomyopathy in golden retrievers. That's the study, right? The study was done only on golden retrievers. And there is a link that this taurine deficiency could be contributing to dilated cardiomyopathy risks in these dogs. We already know that Goldens, Dobies, Danes, Boxers, and other breeds, know your breed. We know that they are at risk, a greater risk of DCM than my Dachshunds would be, right? I actually lost a Great Dane of my own to DCM when he was 6.5 years old. He collapsed in front of me one night. He was 165 pounds. I carried him to the car by myself. And 2 weeks later, 2 weeks after diagnosis, he was gone. Generally speaking, I've heard it said that from diagnosis, from DCM, we're lucky if we get 6 months. Okay? So, what is this study really telling us? Taurine deficiency, right? Taurine deficiency. So if I have a breed predisposed to DCM or a dog that is testing deficient to taurine, then I am going to be looking to increase how taurine is put into their body. Taurine is put into their body with meat, real meat, dairy, and shellfish. So I, as a Dane owner, had I known then what I know now, would be looking to put whole foods into the dog and or supplement taurine. Now, dig this a little deeper. This is not a grain-free issue per se. It's linked to grain-free diets because years ago, when grain-free became the rage, right? We shouldn't be feeding corn to our dogs. Go grain-free. What got substituted in was peas, potatoes, now lentils, legumes, right? Of varying varieties. And they are plant-based proteins that are not introducing taurine, essential amino acids, into the body. Only meat, dairy, and shellfish can do that. So remember, we talked about reading the label. We're starting to see meat as the first ingredient. Thank you, marketing. But what's happening is the total protein percentage is being increased by plant-based proteins, right? So then there became an imbalance, and now this taurine deficiency is showing up for many dogs. Not all, not across the board. And those at most risk of this deficiency are those predisposed to dilated cardiomyopathy, as I understand all this, right? So what can you do about it? Do you go back to a grain-based diet? No. You look for and consider moving into real whole foods diets. To me, this is either a home-prepared meal that is very well balanced with the nutrients, and you can go start learning more about that on my Thinkific page and look for the module called Well-Fed Canines. New content is added there all the time. Or a raw-based diet that we know is fully balanced. That's part of why I led to Volhard. That's part of why that, and because I know it's truly balanced, and it's real meat, which our dogs need. It's a variety of protein sources that are not plant-based, right? So we rotate in meat and fish and dairy periodically. And if necessary, I can customize the meat to lamb or chicken, or not that I encourage chicken often, but I can rotate those proteins around. Variety is key, right? I could supplement taurine. I could supplement that into the bag. Now, I saw a bag of dog food yesterday that somebody asked me to help them evaluate, and it has taurine listed on it. They've added an ingredient for that. The problem is sometimes in our kibble-based diets, we're seeing synthetic vitamins and minerals, and they may not be fully utilized by the body. They may be coming out the other side, not being fully utilized. So again, the only way to know if your animal is deficient is testing. Okay, so don't get stuck on headlines, and don't react to a headline without understanding the depth of what that means. So the grain-free headline really is about peas and potatoes and plant-based proteins that were substituted in. Going back to a grain-based diet, still not your best option. Okay? So just be aware of that. I mentioned that one of my clients asked me if I had changed my opinion, and the answer is yes. like I said, there was a time I recommended like 3 or 4 different high-end kibble-based diets. I won't do that anymore, in part because I don't trust the names that I used to recommend. Champion Foods wound up with some lawsuits against them, and companies are having recalls. And Taste of the Wild, there's an article flying around about Taste of the Wild now that suggests that alleges that a test was done and presented in court for one of the lawsuits, that there is more lead in their dog food than in the water of Flint, Michigan. Lead in dog food is not a good thing. Taste of the Wild is not the only dog food in class action lawsuits for having metals in their food or lead in their food. We know some of these companies have been recalled for having the euthanasia drug of dead animals, dead farm animals, livestock, whatnot, euthanized and then used in dog food, and that drug passed through the processing and into the food, into the animal who ate it, who then died from the euthanasia drug. Right? We're seeing manufacturing issues where bacteria are being passed along and causing all sorts of problems. The bacteria discussion is an interesting one in that a lot of people claim bacteria is the problem with the raw diet, right? And of course, we're introducing bacteria into the dog's body, who, if is overall healthy, and we're adding digestive enzymes and probiotics and all that kind of stuff, which, by the way, is already in the Volhard diet, and we don't really need to supplement that unless there's a unique individuality issue, senior issue, wellness issue that we're trying to help recover from. But when we've got that going all together the way it's supposed to be, our dog's body is equipped to handle it, and it's appropriate for them to handle it. So don't get hung up on the good bacteria or the challenged bacteria, the challenging bacteria going into your dog's gut. That's the way nature intended it, right? That's the way it's supposed to happen. So I can't recommend, I won't recommend, I will not tell you pick a dog food that is kibble based. I can't do it. I can tell you and help you figure out the carbohydrates in your food, whether it has the right ingredients in it, you know, that sort of thing. But most of what we're seeing is carbohydrates that are way too high. One of my clients messaged me yesterday after I literally sent a letter to all my dog training clients and said, you need to be worried about this. You need to research your brand of dog food. And she sent me a photo of the back of hers, and it's a premium, pricey, boutique brand of kibble that calculates out to 47.5% carbohydrates. Way too much, right? They list on their page or their bag all these fruits and vegetables and all this fermented this and that, and yet there's still 47% carbohydrate in the bag. So questionable, right? But I can help you beef up the quality of your kibble-based diet. We know just adding fresh leafy greens that have been steamed and pureed a little bit help deter the risk of disease by as much as 70%. That well-oiled canine module that I told you about on my page, it will help you figure out some of this stuff. It'll help you understand a little bit more. But I'm not going to name brands of kibble anymore, because every time I do, they're showing up in a lawsuit, or there's another problem, or the pet food industry is misleading people, and that troubles me. So home prepared is an option, right? Many people, if you're like me, you're not, I don't like grocery shopping, and I really like calculating out the percentage of protein and muscle and bone and amino acid and blah, blah, this and blah, blah, that. I don't like calculating that stuff. So when I found Volhard, for me, that was the right answer. There is no food product that I know of beyond Wendy Volhard and what she has done for over, I don't know, 30 to 40 years of crafting this food and doing blood testing on animals that eat this food from their conception, right? From the mama dog to the puppies until these dogs live a ripe old age and die. She is doing blood testing and disease testing and so on. And this food, in my opinion, is higher quality than any out there, and one that I trust enough to have put my name behind and say I'm an affiliate for them, and I will recommend that food. It's what my dogs eat. We ate it for a long time prior to me taking that step to become an affiliate. This dog food thing has become, or this nutrition piece has become so important to me in my dog training business as it relates specifically to behavior of aggression and anxiety, that I've gone and started becoming certified in animal nutrition. And so that, paired with wanting my clients' dogs to live long, happy, healthy lives, has been leading me down this path. So no matter what you choose, go do a little research today on your brand. Follow the video that I shared last night on how to read your label, and do a little research. Ask yourselves, does this make sense? Look and see, is your brand, does it fall under the umbrella of one of the top? Listen, y'all, there's only a handful. I want to say there's 5, but it might be 6 or 7. I don't remember. It's not many. There are very few food manufacturing companies in this country. Very few. What happens is they are rebranded and marketed under different names and different recipes and different price points. One of the foods yesterday that my client was asking me about is coming in from Thailand. Do we trust that? We may not have reason to not trust it, but the Volhard that I feed is human grade in a human factory in the United States that Wendy Volhard and the other owners of the business walk into and see what's going on and make sure that it's to their standards, right? That means something to me. We are seeing new brands pop up every single day. I mean, new food. The one yesterday I never heard of, and yet it's coming from Thailand, right? But new foods, new brands, people jumping on the bandwagon to tap into your fears and try to sell a product. Have those products been tested for 40 years? No way. No way. Right? So do your homework, ask questions, get some help, and especially if your dog is at all unwell. So I've got people calling with itchy, scratchy dogs, or dogs who have a particular organ flare-up and so on. And we're making great progress in the health and well-being of those dogs. I'm seeing dogs with diagnoses that suggest they don't have much longer to live, right? People making shifts when they get that diagnosis are being granted longer periods of time with their pets based on changes that they're making in the diet. Is that guaranteed for everybody? No. But what I know to be true is that if we wait until that diagnosis, our chances are less than they are if we started yesterday. So if this matter of longevity and well-being is at all important to you for your pet, you got a little bit of homework to go do. Just go do it. Go do the research, and don't look up one day and go, what happened? And find that you were feeding a bag of dog food that was known to have euthanasia drug in it, or lead in it, or carbohydrates that are 50-some%, which it happens to be the average of most dog foods, right? Somewhere in the range of 50% is the average. And so anyway, I'm off my soapbox. I am here to help you. If you have questions, let me know.